Welcome to the live virtual book launch party of Starlight and Bone. I am so excited that this day has finally come, that my book is out in the world. I'm sick, so my voice sounds a little bit scratchy, but doesn't matter. Today's been amazing. The outpouring of excitement and love for this book has been so awesome to witness. Um, I'm going to go ahead and get started as people kind of jump onto the live stream. And I'm going to start with kind of summarizing what this book launch party is going to be about. So I'm going to start off by kind of talking about me, my writing history, just about the author. Then I'm going to go into a Starlight and Bone, kind of sharing how I came up with the idea for it, what my future plans are for future books. And then I'm going to do a live reading of the first chapter of the book. And then we'll do a little Q&A. And depending on that, and if we have some other people pop on and make some comments and a little bit of interaction, we will be doing a drawing, a giveaway for a prize pack. And I'll be talking more about that prize pack a little bit later on. But just so you know, every comment that you leave on this video is going to count towards a giveaway drawing at the very end. So go ahead and comment. When you hop on, talk about, kind of introduce yourself, talk about maybe your favorite genre to read. Maybe it's sci-fi, maybe it's not. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and start talking about myself. So my name is Emily Layne. Talking about myself is like one of the most challenging things, I swear. People ask you about yourself and you're like, your mind just immediately goes blank. Or maybe you're not that kind of a person. Maybe, you know, you have something interesting to say right off the top of your head. But I'm going to talk about my writing process a little bit. So I have not always loved books, actually. It took me a long time to learn how to read. And it's a pride issue. My mom had so much patience with me. But once I did learn how to read, I found a whole new world was opened up to me, which a lot of slow readers do. They find that it's amazing. It's um, how much you can experience through pages and print and words. So after that, I kind of delved into fan fiction. Instead of creating my own worlds, I created the expansion of other people's worlds, most specifically Sailor Moon, which you can probably see one of the dolls behind me. Um, I was a big Sailor Moon fan for a long time, and that's where all I kind of stretched my writing muscles at first. And then I delved into my own kind of my own stories, my own books, my own worlds, and those are a hot mess. I don't think I'm ever going to share this with anyone. I mean, I had this idea when I graduated high school that I was going to pursue publication seriously, and I wrote this book, and I thought it was amazing. And then I queried it, and no agents were really interested in it. And looking back now, I can see why they were not interested. But once I decided I wanted to write seriously, I stuck with that and I did not give up. And that was all the way back in 2010. And here we are in 2023, and I have published my second book. Um, I guess, how did that all come about? There are different ways that people go about publishing. So some people go the traditional route, which is getting an agent, and then your agent gets you a publisher. And then some people go the more self-publishing route, where they pretty much do all the back end, the front end. They do everything. I wanted to do the traditional. Oh goodness, my daughter's upstairs and she's fighting sleep. So if you heard that bang, that was her probably throwing something. Um, I decided to go the more traditional route because, I mean, a little bit of the self gratification, I guess, of, oh, I got an agent, oh, I got a publisher. But I liked the doors that would be open to me because of that. Um, and then, so once I decided that's what I wanted to do, I pursued that and I did not give up. And I think it took me, it was either my fifth or my sixth book that got me my agent. And then from there, it took us a year and a half to find a publisher who was interested in the book. And that is a whole story in itself, but I'm not going to go too far into that because this is a book launch about not These Wicked Waters of Starlight and Bone. The book that took me all of that time to find a publisher was These Wicked Waters. You can find more about These Wicked Waters on my website, emilylanebooks.com, or in the description below. I think I've linked that as well. If you like Killer Sirens, mystery, summer resort, if you're ready for summer when spring is just around the corner, it's a good book to pick up and read. Um, excuse me. Currently, what I'm writing now is obviously of Starlight and Bone is a series. So I am working on the later books in the series. I've written book 2. I'm in the brainstorming process of book 3. but I've taken a bit of a pause, and I'm working on a young adult fantasy book that I wrote back in 2018 and doing some edits on that and kind of seeing where that takes me. But now let's go ahead and dive into of Starlight and Bone itself. Um, you might wonder where the idea for the book came from. And I say it's pretty cliche. It came from a nightmare that I had. So I had this terrible dream that these people were fighting each other with these giant discs. And I woke up like absolutely terrified. Sorry for a second. My throat is very, very dry. And this mug, my husband got this for me. I know it's backwards in the camera, but it says, "Be careful or you'll end up in my novel." And it's one of my favorite mugs to drink from. And this is decaf coffee because I do want to be able to go to sleep after this. Um, but back to Starlight and Bone and where the idea came from. So it came from a nightmare that I had. These people were throwing giant discs at each other, and it was terrifying. But when I woke up, I was like, this would be a fantastic book idea if I can figure out how to create a world from this, because these weapons were so cool. And so I just kind of had this idea moving in my mind throughout the day. And I was a passenger in a car that we were driving, and it was like this giant valley with trees all around it, and this fog was rolling in. And somehow these two ideas connected in my brain. I was like, Roanoke Colony is but in space with these giant disc weapons. What could I do with that? And Roanoke Colony and space and these weapons, it all came together in what eventually became of Starlight and Bone. The world itself was interesting because before this, I never really read science fiction, never wrote science fiction. Fantasy or paranormal fantasy was kind of where I always found my niche. And so science fiction was a whole different ball game. I had no idea what I was getting myself into, especially because I hadn't read any science fiction really much prior to this. Um, so it was a big growing experience for me creatively, which is really cool. So I got to design, I got to work first, of course, building my galaxy and Core Federation as you read the book and Core Galaxy. And I'm an army brat through and through. I grew up moving around, I think until I was 11, we moved around. My biggest accomplishment is that I went to 3 elementary schools in like under like 6 months or something like that. Um, so I knew when I was going to make this space world that I had to add a military aspect to it. And that's where all the military lingo, all the air command and the military police brigade and the Marines, that's where all of that in a Core Federation came from, is my upbringing. My dad is still in the Army Reserves. My husband served in the Army for a period of time, and he still worked for the government. So I've always got the Army lingo, and that really helped with writing the book. And Google did too. But that's kind of where the world came from, was my own background and my own history as being an Army brat. And I love how the story itself kind of came together around that, because I don't know what it is. It's like sci-fi and the military, like putting them together. It's so much fun. Like, I don't know. I just love it. So the timeline to publication for Starlight and Bone, it's very similar to my experience with These Wicked Waters. It took a bit of time. I think I wrote of Starlight and Bone in 2018, and here we are in 2023, and it just released. That's kind of the crazy thing about traditional publishing when you think about it. It's that, I just realized you can see that shelf down there, which is an absolute mess. I'm so sorry about that. That's like my junk shelf. That's where I've been putting like stuff that I've been working on for giveaways. You can see like the playing cards down there for Starlight and Bone. You're going to be getting one of those in the mail shortly if you haven't already. Sorry about that. But yeah, the timeline to publication for Starlight and Bone was long too, 2018 to 2023. And that's just how traditional publishing works. Sometimes it can be really slow, especially if you were in a situation where I was, where you had so many backlogged books that you were kind of working through them and sending them out to see if people were interested. But yeah, I wouldn't have it any other way. It's super cool to see how my writing has developed since 2018 to now, especially when I was going back and doing edits, getting it ready for its final, for the final version that you guys have in your hands or are going to have in your hands in the next few days. As far as my plans for future books, in the Encore Federation, Starlight and Bone is the first in a trilogy. So the trilogy is called the Lost Colony Trilogy. The Lost Colony Trilogy. I hope my voice doesn't give out on me. The Lost Colony Trilogy. And books 2 and 3 are left. I've written book 2, as I mentioned earlier, and then book 3 is kind of in the brainstorming phase. I guess I can give you a little teaser because this is part of like a whole pre-order thing. But I do have titles for books 2 and 3, and I absolutely love them. I'll give you the acronyms because I'm not going to share the titles just yet because I want that to be a fun like part of the we're getting closer to publishing book 2 process. But the acronym for book 2 is TMAR, and the acronym for book 3 is I gotta think through the title of my head. BBAS is the acronym for book 3. And I'm really excited to share book 2 because I feel like it really expands on some of the characters you come to love of Starlight and Bone, and it takes the characters to a whole different place. And it really challenges and it's my daughter upstairs. I don't know if you can hear her. It helps. Ari is challenged and she grows like substantially. Yeah, I'm really excited to get book 2 out. I mean, I just launched book 1, but I'm like, okay, let's get book 2, let's get book 3. I'm so excited for the rest of the series. I don't know. I think that the books, at least here, get better and better as you go. I know in some series it kind of feels like book 2 is always the one that kind of falls flat, or it's like the bridge book where book 1 was really good, and then there's book 2 is kind of and then book 3 it's like wow, and book 2 is the bridge between 2 amazing books. But I don't think book 2 in the Lost Colony trilogy is going to fall prey to that. At least that has been my goal, is to make sure that this book is so good that it even outshines book 1. But after talking about Starlight and Bone, let's go ahead and read the first chapter. We'll see how my voice does because I think this is the most that I have talked, not just like today, but like this week. This cold has been like a slow moving cold in my house. I think I first started getting sick on Tuesday, and here I am a week later, still sick, probably even sicker than I was when I first got sick. So, but I think I'm on the mend finally. So by the weekend, hopefully I should be 100% again. Let's go ahead and read the first chapter of this book. This is actually an arc, so I don't have the final version, the author copies yet. And fun fact about the arcs is there are no italics in the arcs. All the italics are missing. And so that was one of the things that I read through, and I let my publisher know that you lost all the italics somehow. But your version should have italics. I'm hoping to see them soon. I'm really excited to see what the final version looks like because, I don't know. There's something so awesome about holding your final book in your hands. Let's go ahead and read the first chapter of Starlight and Bone. Aurelia Perry had failed to stop her target from fleeing out of the alley, and now, against specific orders, she was creating a scene. Humid wind plastered tangles of red hair to her skin, renegade strands from her rope braid. She spat some of them out of her mouth with a grimace. Come on, she hissed to her borrowed ride. The cycle hummed as she opened up the throttle, bearing down on the running man meters ahead. He shoved people aside, throwing a glance behind him. Fresh blood ran from his nose and upper lip, the vivid crimson clear even through the blur of foot traffic separating them on the open-air sky bridge. Stop, I order the disc task force, she shouted as pedestrians leapt out of her cycle's path into the protected glass guardrails. Birdie, a lithe white poodle and Ari's assigned partner, loped just ahead, snarling and barking at anyone who didn't scramble away fast enough. Ari could have sent Birdie to tackle the man and pin him in place, but this was her first assignment. She needed to prove she was capable, not just to her captain and fellow disc agents, but to herself. The man reached the end of the sky bridge, instead of taking the escalator back to ground level almost 30 stories below where the chase began. He staggered through the doors of the connected building. Birdie bounded after him. Kuso, Ari swore. She reached the building's entrance heartbeats later, leaping off the cycle. It powered down as the doors whooshed open, and she sprinted through. The suddenly cool air brought out goosebumps along her organic skin. Birdie, tongue lolling, waited in the center of a walkway surrounded by cubicles of tinted smart glass. Curious heads poked out from tiny offices, showing varying degrees of interest and concern. Ari flashed a smile that she hoped looked confident. At the end of the hall, her target slid open a door and disappeared behind it, leaving a dripping red handprint on the glass. She ran, Bertie at her heels, the tails of her dark green coat dancing at her back. A manager shouted, "No dogs!" as she passed his office, furnished with a sleek designer sofa in front of a curved steel desk. He leapt out of his hover chair and jogged into the hall. Ari bared her forearm to him, the barcode on her skin warming as the C-Tech lenses in the man's eyes processed her disc agent badge. His reprimand shriveled into silence, though his mouth still hung open like a faulty shuttle door. The other side of the bloody glass revealed a flight of steps, slick with decades of dust. Smeared footprints and droplets of blood led upwards. Ari's mechanical leg propelled her up each flight even after her organic leg began to burn with fatigue. The bang of another door opening and closing echoed through the space. She pushed herself harder, faster. A black glass door loomed at the top of the final flight of steps. She yanked it open. Glaring sunlight burned her organic eye, oppressive humidity replacing the cool air. She blinked away tears and focused on the silhouette of her target, hunched in the center of the building's tiled roof, heaving labored breaths. Her C-Tax whirred with facial recognition tech available for disc agents on active missions. Information coalesced at the left corner of her vision, adding to the identification information available to any citizen of the Ankor Federation. Tanaka Hiroki, DOB, 14 September 3276. Resident location, Kaido, Ushi District. Cattle ranch hand, wanted, alive. Ari heaved in a lungful of air that was part relief and part exhaustion. At least she'd been chasing the right man. After all, this was an emergency transfer of a COF, a Class 1 fugitive. If she hadn't been the only agent nearby when Agent Hillsdale slipped getting into a shuttle and broke his leg, Ari might still be back on Rokutan. The Military Police Brigade, MPB, had been after Hiroki for days. He'd finally popped up on Babbage and they wanted to seize the opportunity. Hillsdale said he'd informed the captain of the transfer according to protocol and to get the hell onto your shuttle. She couldn't screw this up, for both her and Agent Hillsdale's sakes. Tanaka Hiroki, she began. I am Agent Perry Aurelia of the Disc Task Force. She paused midway to catch her breath. You are under arrest for the murders of Tanaka Marie and Tanaka Hana. You have the right to... Sorry. You have the right to... Hiroki gripped the sides of his face, torn and dirtied fingernails digging into his skin. It wasn't me. I would never. I never. The lawn furniture and potted plants placed about the roof acted as mute witnesses to the man's pleas. Ari forced herself to remain detached, calm. Mr. Tanaka, she soothed, taking a hesitant step forward, Bertie following. I promise you will have the opportunity to plead your innocence in court. But even Ari knew the judge would find this man guilty. Her brief perusal of his case on her flight over hadn't uncovered any other suspects. Now that she got a good look, his current state didn't match the violent criminal she had imagined when Hillsdale transferred the file. Hiroki wore threadbare rags streaked with blood, both dried and recent. His right forearm bore a gouge along his barcode. Crimson oozing from the wound splattered the tiled rooftop. The effort to obliterate his identifying marker, an illegal action in itself, had been a waste because he hadn't sliced deep enough. His nose and lip, cut from a fall on the escalator earlier in her chase, had stopped bleeding, but left his face a gory mess. How this man escaped Kaido and navigated Cruel's curve was beyond her. No, 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 Hiroki moaned, shaking his head. Sweat and oil-dampened hair clung to his forehead. Fear burned hot in his eyes as his body tensed to run. Don't move, Ari shouted. Bertie, detain! Her partner darted forward, cutting off Hiroki's only escape. An entrance to the nearby sky bridge, this one mercifully devoid of pedestrians. Ari hefted her disc free from its holster across her back. At her touch, the weapon grew from plate-sized to tire-sized. A hazy ring of blue electricity buzzed along its rim, the disc set to stun. She tightened her grip on the rubber handle in the center. Mr. Tanaka, come with me peacefully. Enough running. You're only making things worse for yourself. She took another step forward, the nerves jangling in her stomach. They'll kill me. They'll put me in the dark. He backed toward the edge of the roof, one hand squeezing the gaping wound over his barcode. Blood ran in rivulets over dirtied skin. Attica chokes you, breaks you, and eats you whole. Ari resisted the urge to roll her eyes at the familiar phrase attached to the Federation's notorious prison. She was too concerned about the ever-shrinking gap between Hiroki and the roof's edge. No one is going to kill you, she said. Lie. The judgment for the atrocities Hiroki committed was death. But facing this man in his malnourished body, wrinkles around his mouth and eyes lined with blood and crime, what else could she say? They should have killed me. Monsters hiding in human flesh. Chomp, chomp, chomp. Hiroki broke into a strangled, manic laugh. The heels of his worn geta, traditional Japanese sandals, scraped the tile. Bit right through them, bones snapping. Gobbled them up. Gobbled them up, she repeated, shivering despite the heat. A copper tang tainted her mouth and the world darkened at the edges. Faraway echoes of hungry snarls and terrified screams made her muscles tense. Pain burned deep in the socket of her right armpit where her robotic limb connected to muscle. Birdie's growl freed Ari from the clutches of the phantom cries. She tightened her grip on the disc, thankful her prosthetic hand couldn't sweat. Hiroki stared at her, chapped lips slightly parted. They will come for us all, he wheezed. Ari shook her head, fighting the urge to retch. Her focus splintered between Hiroki and the strange hallucination she just had. Listen, she began. I don't. Hiroki straightened as if he'd reached a decision. Wait! She darted forward, her boots sliding on the smooth tile. Stop! Hiroki took a step back into empty air. He appeared to hover as Ari ran, fighting against the viscosity of time to reach him. She shouted his name, abandoning her disc as she leaned over the edge, stretching out a hand. He was already too far. His eyes seemed to meet hers as he fell, lips splayed, fingers curled. His lips moved, but Ari couldn't hear him over the roaring in her ears and Birdie's barking. Hiroki hit the water roadway 30 floors below with a bone-breaking smack. And that is the end of chapter 1. I am very impressed that my voice held out all the way through. I think that is one of my top chapter endings I think that I've ever written because it ends in a manner of speaking with such a bang. You know what I mean? I think it makes you want to keep reading for sure. This cold is absolutely horrible. I hope no one else is sick right now because it is no fun. I will go ahead and open up the Q&A really quickly if anyone wants to ask some questions. Just a reminder that every question, comment, whatever that you leave counts as an entry into a giveaway, which I will show you actually the items for that giveaway, which is on this bookshelf down here. All right. So part of this giveaway, you will get, if you win, one of these really cute, let's see, hold it up to the camera, one of these really, really cute annotated stickers for like annotating books, just leaving, I don't know, I guess you put them in planners, that kind of thing. I found these at a Japanese store at the beach years ago, like I'm talking 3 years maybe, and I held on to them because I'm like, these would be an amazing giveaway for Starlight and Bone, because annotating books is really gaining popularity on like Bookstagram right now. It's making me want to take a Starlight and Bone and annotate it myself. Then I will write you a personalized thank you note on these because coffee is kind of what keeps me going some days because I'm so tired with between 2 kids and writing and like keeping a house and all that stuff. Coffee is amazing. And then these kuchows, it's reversed on here, but I don't know if you've ever had these before, but they are so, so good. A lot of people have had high chews before, and I mentioned this in my Instagram stories if you watch them, but these are like 10 times better than high chews. It's like if a Starburst didn't taste super as artificial and it was like even like chewier. That's kind of what these are like, and they're super, super good. And then, of course, the last thing is a full deck of, or a full set of the character trading cards. So I will send those to you guys. And hopefully, I kind of looked up something online to see if I'd be able to like do the drawing while the live was still running. So we'll see if it works. And then if that's the case, then I can go ahead and draw it at the end of the Q&A. So if anybody has any questions kind of about either my writing of Starlight and Bone, this messy bookshelf behind me, my plans for future books, kind of anything like that. If you have any questions and maybe looking for any advice with your own writing, go ahead and ask them. We have about, I guess, like 5 minutes left if we want to finish up with any questions. Why? Let's drink on my coffee. All a release date for book 2. There is not a confirmed release date yet. The book itself is written, so that kind of is a hurdle that has already been jumped. The things in the way they're being published are finalized cover, and then obviously the editing process with Owl Hollow Press's editor. We were talking a couple of months ago about trying to do a 6-month release schedule. I don't know if that's still something that's going to happen yet. At the very least, the book will be out, I'm pretty sure, within a year. Because, like I said, it's already written, and we wanted to try an accelerated release format. And honestly, I myself am so excited to get this book out because I think it is like, it's, if there are certain elements that you wanted in book 1 and you got a taste of, like the slow burn romance and the action and more of Ari's backstory and like the bleeders, then you're going to get it in book 2, and I'm really excited about it. My inspiration for the title. This is something like titles, I think, are really challenging, and I'm kind of quirky in the sense that a lot of writers, they sometimes will wait to come up with a title before they start writing the book. But I have always been the type that I need to know what the title is before I start writing. And I guess the way I came up with it is sometimes I will look at other titles in the genre and kind of come up with an idea that way. And I honestly have no idea where Starlight and Bone even came from. I think I read this quote once where someone was actually like talking about like the human body and like human bones or something like that, but how we actually are like fragments of like stars and like stuff like that is actually like in our bodies with like our genetic makeup or something like that, or we have the same elements as stars, and like so that kind of tied in with the title itself. And each title in the series kind of focuses on the kind of summarizes the focus of the book itself. So of Starlight and Bone, if you've already read it, Malachi says the title in the book, describing a certain something, and that is pretty much the focus of the book itself. It's kind of already seeing the galaxy with a new light, and realizing not everything is squeaky clean as she was taught that it was in basic training. So that is the inspiration for the title, and I think the title for book 2 is even more fun, even cooler. I'm really excited to reveal the title of book 2. We'll see how long I can wait before I reveal it, because all the titles already have been given the green light by Owl Hollow, so I can they're finalized. They're not going to change, and I'm really excited about both of them. I'll give it a second for just a few more questions, and then we'll go ahead and we'll see if this drawing that I figured out works. I'm going to pull that up while I wait really quick, because we'll see. Okay. Yeah, we'll see if this works. It'll be interesting to see if it does. If not, then I will do it after the fact and then just send you an email if you want. All right. Yeah, titles are really, really tricky, especially because if you aren't self-publishing, sometimes you'll go into it and the publisher's like, nah, we don't like it. So then you have to change it anyway. That's the danger of traditional publishing. But I have been very lucky with Owl Hollow Press, and they've loved my titles, so they never even mentioned changing them, which I'm very thankful for, because they were titles for me are like a labor of love. All right, so it looks like that it's not going to automatically pick the comments. So what I'm going to do is after the fact, I'm going to end this live stream and then draw a winner, and then I will email you if you won. So you should be getting an email in like the next 5 minutes or so if you won. Thank you guys so much for coming, for watching, and to everyone who watches after the fact, because I am going to be making this available to, I guess, the general public to kind of share it with everyone else, because people will be buying of Starlight and Bone hopefully after the pre-order window. So if you have any questions about the book itself, if you are interested in any speaking opportunities or Zoom chats, that kind of thing, you can find out more information about me on my website at emilylaynebooks.com. I also have a newsletter where I share all the details about new publishing news, and you get a short magical realism short story. Too many times saying short. It's getting late for me. 9 o'clock is late for me. and I'm sick and I'm on cough medicine. So it's probably time for me to sign off and go to bed. Again, thank you for everyone who has pre-ordered, everyone who has reached out today and sent messages and congratulations and just spread the news about Starlight and Bone. I'm so excited for future books and so excited to continue the journey of publication and just sharing more about this book and this story and Ari's journey. Happy book launch day.